Tonight on Ctv3 News, robbery at car wash in Corozal Town, man reports theft of cash and valuables. Trial of ex-police officer Elmer gets underway in Belize City over multiple murders and attempted murder. NTUCB calls for government spending transparency and audits of ministries, including niche. Minister Fanaeka responds. And Belize defense attorneys criticize the proposed constitutional amendments over civil liberties concerns. These are some of the stories we have for you tonight in our newscast for Friday, June 20th, 2025.
I welcome you to the graduation of our first cohort, as well as the launch of our second cohort of the project entitled Increasing Economic Power for Micro-Entrepreneurs.
Through this bilateral collaboration, the Women's Empowerment Project over the past 4 years, we have witnessed numerous women entrepreneurs making significant strides and fulfilling their potential. There are so many inspiring stories that encourage us to continue doing this.
We can celebrate 74 women that will graduate from round 1 of our ministry's Increasing Economic Power for Micro-Entrepreneurs project, and at the same time we're welcoming an additional 60 women entrepreneurs who will participate in round 2. To the women here today, you are the brains, you are the hearts, and the hands of this initiative, and you are the reason why we are here. Let this be a reminder that your voice matters, that your work matters, and that your economic empowerment is a national priority.
Good evening. With your news, also simulcast on Face FM 106.7. I am Joanna Rodriguez. For the past few days, here has been increasing rainfall in various parts of the country, including here in the north. The increase in showers in the past few hours has forced a stop in the milling at the Tower Hill factory. This pause is expected to continue for the next couple of days to allow farmers the opportunity to harvest cane fields which have been affected by the bad weather. This most recent pause comes amid serious concern about the future of the northern sugar industry, which has been grappling with the Fusarium fungus. Earlier this week, the Ministry of Agriculture, along with other stakeholders of the agriculture sector, hosted a high-level meeting to discuss the way forward for the industry. In a conference with the media on Thursday, Agriculture Minister Honorable Hossein Mai once again highlighted the expected shortfalls of the industry this year, when an expected loss of over $50 million as compared to the 2024 crop season.
Already the price per ton, based on the last estimate, is at $54.31. Last year, at the same time, the estimate price per ton cane was $90.23. So already see that's a drop of $25 there, price being paid. Okay, so from $87 last year to $54 this year. That's based on the last estimate. That's a 25% drop in price per ton. So in total revenue, last year, $163,551,000 was generated. Today, at 900,000 tons, again, which we will not reach, the total revenue is estimated at $110 million. That's a shortfall of $53 million. Last year, the farmers' share of the revenues generated was at $89.6 million. This year, with that 900,000 ton crop, the farmer's share is going to be more or less $58.5 million. That's again $31 million less that will go to the farmers. And so we're in a very difficult position with sugarcane. If you have the time and you have you want to look at the fields, just drive by and look at all the yellowing in the sugarcane fields. That is an indication that those fields are already infected. And between now and December, that infection will spread across the field. It will cover more of the field and it will intensify, where the plants will get even more affected, which means that those sugarcane plants will not yield anything, or if they do, very little for the next coming crop.
The fall in sugarcane production in the coming crop, according to Minister Mai, also poses serious concern for the millers who depend on a serious amount of cane delivered to the mill to maintain profitability.
It means that the farmers will have to decide if they will harvest a cane crop with so little cane or just leave it in the field. If we, right now, have a drop of 160,000 tons of cane, next year we expect a further 160 or 200,000 drop in sugarcane production. That means we'll have a crop of 600,000 tons. That's half of what we used to have before. We have had 1 million tons, 1.2 million, 1.1 million, 1.2 million, 1.3. I think in some time in the past we got up to 1.7 million tons of sugarcane. So falling from 1.2 to 0.6 is what, 50% of our production. Mexico is facing that exact scenario at this time, 50% drop in production. Now, some may believe that these are only numbers. These are only numbers, right? What do these numbers mean? They have an implication. What does it mean? It means that the mill will have to decide to operate at half its capacity. And the sugar mill has fixed operating costs. They operate on a 1.2 million ton basis with given amount of staff. It means that we will have a shorter crop. We may have 600,000 tons. So the crop may begin in February maybe, and in May, the best part of the year when it's dry. But anybody who operates business will tell you that you can't operate a sugar mill with 600,000 tons and a fixed staff with operating costs that don't change. And then secondly, we will have now half the amount of bagasse used for cogeneration to supply the national grid with electricity. It means that the farmers will have half the amount of money in their pockets with sugarcane.
With the efforts to help the cane farmers combat the ongoing fusarium threat and remain viable in the industry, the Ministry of Agriculture, along with partner agencies, have made needed funding available to begin a series of mitigation steps within the industry,
and which we hope to implement immediately. I must say to you that there is no time for no long elaborated strategy. The strategy has to be now, it has to be practical, it has to be viable, and it has to have results. It has to be results driven. And so there's no single bullet that will address fusarium. It has to be addressed as an integrated system. It includes controlling the fungus using biological control, another fungus. It has to be planting resistant varieties or tolerant varieties. It has to be changing the system that we used before, the overburning of sugarcane fields, the cropping system, the cultural practices. All this has to change. And now, these things don't happen overnight. You will not see effects tomorrow.
A local salesman was robbed at gunpoint yesterday afternoon at a car wash in Corozal Town, according to police reports. Mr. Roberto Rivera, 31 years old, of Corozal Town, visited the CIB Northside station today to report the incident that occurred earlier in the day. Mr. Rivera stated that between approximately 1:30 p.m. and 1:40 p.m., he was at a car wash located within the farm center compound when the robbery took place. According to his account, two male persons of dark complexion arrived on a motorcycle. The motorcycle driver, described as heavily built, pulled out a firearm and began to crank it. The two suspects then approached Mr. Rivera, the male with the gun pointed it directly at him and threatened, "I will kill you." During the confrontation, the suspect, the stolen items, including his black school bag containing $25,000 in cash and $10,000 worth of checks totaling $35,000. A Windows Surface 2 tablet valued at 2,500 Belize dollars belonging to Vegas distributors, $250 in Belize cash, a gold chain with a cross pendant valued at 635 Belize dollars, and a white Samsung A16 cell phone with the calling number 620-9270 valued at 400 Belize dollars. The total estimated value of the stolen items is approximately 28,785 Belize dollars. After the theft, the suspects mounted their motorcycle and fled the scene in an unknown direction. Authorities are actively investigating the incident and seeking any witnesses or information that can help identify the suspects. Anyone with relevant information is urged to contact the Corozal Police Department. Police continue their efforts to apprehend the suspects and recover the stolen property. Early Wednesday morning, a group of public officers organized a blockade at the main entrance at the Philip Golson International Airport, PGIA, causing significant disruptions to travelers, tour operators, and airport staff. The protest formed part of an ongoing campaign by public officers demanding improved wages, highlighting the broader tensions between government authorities and public service employees. But while the move might have seemed like a good one for the unions, yesterday Minister of Foreign Affairs Francis Fanaeka expressed disappointment in the move.
Yeah, well, I've always maintained that we have in place a structure and a mechanism for the resolution of these disputes. We have always been able to dialogue around the table. In my view, it is very unfortunate, very disappointing that the unions have moved away from the table and are not, resolving these issues in good faith, in a respectful way around the table. So I think, certainly I think the efforts to, close or disrupt activities at the airport, that cannot be acceptable to anyone. That is not in the interest of anybody. It's not in the interest of teachers, public officers, not in the interest of the tourism industry. It's not in the interest of Belize. And certainly from my knowledge of the people around the table in the joint unions who I've worked with for many, many years, these are all good Belizeans who want what's best for Belize. So that was very much out of character with the people I know. And I hope that that stops very quickly.
But amidst all the tensions, Fanaeka, who is also a member of the negotiating team, is hopeful that an agreement will be reached.
Yeah, I'm very hopeful and confident that we will be able to have a positive resolution to, what is currently sort of impasse, if you like. But where we are now is that the unions, as you know, have rejected the last offer made by the government of Belize. Our negotiating team, the cabinet subcommittee, met earlier this week to discuss, certain proposals that we want to make to cabinet. We will be making those proposals to cabinet on Tuesday of next week. And based on that discussion with cabinet and whatever instructions we are given by the cabinet, then we will be scheduling a meeting with the junta for us to move the process forward in terms of whatever instructions we are given by cabinet. So we're very hopeful that based on our own discussions, that those proposals will be well received, that they will be met with good faith, and that we will have an opportunity for an early resolution of this matter.
This week marked the commencement of proceedings against former law enforcement officer Elmer, age 40, who faces serious charges including 3 counts of murder and 1 count of attempted murder. The trial is being presided over by Justice Nigel Pilgrim in Belize City. Na's charges stem from a violent incident on New Year's Eve in 2022, which resulted in the deaths of John, David, and later Vivian Ramner, as well as injuries sustained by Yemi Alberto in Bamopan. Na maintains his innocence, entering a plea of not guilty to all charges. Prosecutor Terrence Williams presented the case, asserting that an individual dressed in dark clothing entered the Ramner's property and opened fire on the victims. A key witness, Barrington Montero, a neighbor and former crime scene technician, testified that he observed a figure entering the yard before hearing gunfire. However, during cross-examination, Montero clarified that he did not see the actual shooting occur, nor could he identify the perpetrator. Montero recounted that he armed himself with his licensed pistol and stepped outside upon hearing cries for help. He described a woman covered in blood who appeared distressed. Montero instructed his wife to take her to the hospital. Moving closer to the Ramner's residence, he found John Ramner struggling to breathe and immediately called police to transport him. Another victim, David Ramner, was found nearby unresponsive. Montero also discovered John's young daughter inside the house and entrusted her to his son's care. The trial continues as both sides prepare to present additional evidence and testimonies. Coming up next, Minister of National Defense clarifies rumors on salary cuts for members of the Belize Defense Force. Stay tuned.
On the pitch, we play as a team. Off the field, we protect ourselves. Vaccine save lives.
Measles doesn't just affect one child, it spreads fast, disrupts learning, friendships, and irreplaceable moments.
I work with my hands, but this message comes from my heart. Protect your family.
You might have seen me on social media before, but have you seen measles? Trust me, we don't want to. Protect yourself.
I've been a practicing pediatrician in Belize for the last 20 years. And through that entire time, they have never seen measles as a disease in our country. To the parents who have vaccinated their children, excellent. You have nothing to worry about. To the ones who are thinking about it, please get it done as soon as possible. Vaccination do save lives.
Attention farmers, the New World screwworm is a serious threat to livestock, pets, wildlife, and humans. It causes yield losses, damages the quality of meat and skins, and can even kill them if left untreated. Check your animals daily. If you see any wounds on them, treat them immediately. Prevention is key. Apply approved healing and fly repellents to the navel of newborn animals after dehorning, ear tagging, or any other practice that leaves wounds on your animals to ensure your animal's well-being. If you notice worms in unusual wounds, report them immediately. Call Baha at 824-4872 or text or WhatsApp 670-7003 or call your nearest Ministry of Agriculture office. And don't forget, never transport or receive animals with injuries. Together, we will prevent the spread of this dangerous disease. This message was brought to you by Baha, OIRSA, AICA, USDA, and the Ministry of Agriculture, Food Security and Enterprise.
Yesterday, the National Trade Union Congress of Belize, NTUCB, held a press conference where the Public Service Union President, Dean Flowers, outlined what he described as government spending. He opened the books when it comes to building rentals, vehicle purchases, and even housing and entertainment allowances. Flowers also called for audits to be conducted on several ministries and their statutory boards, including NICH. When asked to weigh in on the petition, Minister Francis Fanaeka, NICH falls under, indicated that has no problem with an audit being conducted as one is done every year.
NICH has never had anything to hide. We have audited state financial statements. We have an audit done every year. So there's nothing new about that. We've discussed that many times with the Junt. That's a little bit of showmanship, because Flowers knows that we have discussed that issue around the negotiating table, and every time they have asked for information, we have made that information available through the Ministry of Finance. So there's a process and a structure in place for them to get information. So there's no need for any showmanship and circus when it comes to those issues. Those are serious matters, and we deal with them around the table.
Since the start of this week, there has been a lot of speculation circulating about salary cuts for members of the Belize Defense Force. This came following a memo from the Ministry of National Defense and Border Security. However, officials have come out to fully explain that the reduction in the pay of some members of the BDF is part of an administrative fix, not a pay cut. The goal, to make sure all BDF salaries, promotions, and increments match the official 2019 pay scale, which has been in effect since June of that year. Today, the Minister of National Defense, Honorable Oscar Mira, spoke on the matter, adding that while the adjustment needed to be made, the government has also made an effort to assist soldiers in this transition with the approval of 2 additional stipends from all members of the BDF.
So in 2019, there was a salary adjustment exercise that was being done. In that exercise, the previous government made a huge mistake. So some Belize Defense Force soldiers were getting a higher pay. So it's not affecting 100% BDF. It's affecting some. And it affects the non-commissioned officers, which are the privates, the lance corporals, and sergeants, and some staff sergeants. When the exercise was finished, some of these officers or BDF were put on a pay scale that was higher or is higher than what their actual pay is supposed to be. The previous administration saw the mistake, did not correct it. They thought it was, the election was coming near, and they just left it. Now we have to fix it. It is costing the government a lot of money in overpayments, and has to be fixed. We have gone through so many meetings and so many exercises in finding out where the proper pay scale is supposed to be. And we have now, on the last stage, I made a priority when I got appointed as the Minister of National Defense and Border Security, met with my CEO and said, you know what, we need to fix it. We need to make sure that everybody is on their proper pay scale. Now, it means that those that were receiving more will have to be adjusted to their correct pay scale. I lobbied cabinet and I lobbied the Prime Minister. I said, listen, it wasn't the soldiers' fault. It was a government mistake. It was a Ministry of Finance mistake. Can we ask that the soldiers not pay back whatever extra they have gotten? Cabinet agreed, and Cabinet has agreed to give these soldiers as an ex gratia payment. So whatever extra you may get is going to be accounted for as an ex gratia payment. Because we have to account for the money. Yeah. However, I know that those affected will be getting less. So we went to the Prime Minister, Minister of Finance, and to Cabinet and said, listen, can we ask that you give the BDF soldiers 2 allowances? And now we're talking about a jungle and maritime allowance and a bush allowance. Can we give everybody this allowance, these 2 allowances? And Cabinet agreed and said, sure, we will give the soldiers 2 more allowances. So everybody is getting 2 allowances starting payday at the end of July.
Minister Mira also clarified concern that the soldiers who were overpaid would have to return the monies to the government.
It is a correction. It is a correction. It is not a cut. If it was a cut, that means that all BDF would be getting, a lower pay. But it is not a cut. It is correcting that mistake that was done in 2019. So this mistake that from 2019. And what that mistake has done is that it hasn't allowed those officers that are getting the wrong pay to be on their correct pay scale when it comes to their increments, when it comes to their promotions, because the pay scale is not correct. So we have to correct all of those and make sure that they are on the proper pay scale that is for the BDF. I think it's still less, but it is something for us to get to try and mitigate what they were used to getting, which was the wrong pay scale. It cannot be that some non-commissioned officers were getting higher than a commissioned officer. Yeah. So you would, in other words, a corporal was getting higher than a captain. And in the pay scale that we have for the police defense force, a captain as a commissioned officer gets a higher pay than a lieutenant, than a second lieutenant, than a warrant officer, than a staff sergeant, than a corporal, than a lance corporal, than a private, and in some instances, a lance corporal and a corporal were getting as much pay as a captain and a major. Now, what we want to do is that we want to ensure that everybody gets on the proper pay scale. It is a tedious exercise because it involves a lot of people, but we have been working hard to ensure that by the end of July, everyone is going to be getting their 2 allowances, and that includes all BDF. Now, the allowances, when we spoke about them and when we went to lobby for them, was approved from May of 2024. So we have managed to get it retroactive to 2024. So all the BDF will be getting that allowances from 2024, May 2024, when it was approved. We have the money aside, we put it aside to ensure that we get the maximum benefit for the police defense force soldiers. Now it's an exercise, that we have been working hard for so long. Yeah. And we have to correct it. We cannot continue with this imbalance in the salary pay scale for non-commissioned officers and commissioned officers. So we are going to fix it. So in August, everybody is going to be on their correct pay scale. But from July, we are going to ensure that we give them those allowances that we have approved for them.
The new salary adjustments are expected to be implemented in the next pay cycle, along with the addition of the 2 new allowances, which will be retroactive from its approval in May 2024. In recent weeks, there have been reports of 2 deportee flights from the U.S. to Belize. So far, there have been about close to 30 Belizeans who have been returned home as part of President Trump's new mandate, where undocumented immigrants are no longer welcomed in the U.S. With more Belizeans expected to be returned home, the media asked Foreign Minister Francis Fanaeka about Belize's plan to welcome them home and reintegrating them back into the Belizean society.
Yeah, we have, as you rightly pointed out, we had one, I think the first flight was, we had, I think, 21 persons coming. The second flight, I think we had 8 persons coming. And we work, it's a sort of collaborative effort. Ministry of Foreign Affairs, of course, we're responsible for certain aspects of it, but we work very closely with the Human Development Department. We work, of course, with the Belize Police Department. We work with immigration as well to make sure that we are meeting with these individuals who need help and support. For the most part, we have found that most of them have families in Belize and they have a support structure in place, but still, we make sure that they have proper information, proper advice about government services that are available to them. And if they have any questions and concerns, we try to address those. I think there were 1 or 2 individuals who had really no kind of family in Belize. They had left Belize a long time ago. And we had to provide some, at least short-term housing arrangements for them. So we're doing everything we can to support them, to make sure that their transition back into Belizean society is as peaceful as possible. Those who have police records or who are wanted by the police, obviously then the Belize Police Department gets involved and interviews them and addresses whatever issues they have with them.
And sticking to the matter of U.S. relations, Secretary of State Marco Rubio has met with the leaders of every CARICOM country and with most of the leaders of Central America except Belize. Now, while some may see this as a problem, Foreign Minister Fanaeka says it simply demonstrates the strong ties both countries enjoy.
Not at all. Secretary Rubio had a fantastic 30-minute telephone conversation with Prime Minister Briceño several months ago. Or good conversation, very productive. We talked about our shared mutual interests. We have an excellent working relationship with the U.S. Embassy here in Belize, with the State Department. We've had multiple meetings with our ambassador in Washington and the State Department. I, in fact, am planning a visit to Washington in the next few weeks, where we have high-level meetings set up. So, we have a great relationship with the United States government. And really the truth is that, the relationship is so good that there's not a need for a lot of talking and meeting. We have a good relationship. And in many cases, what you see happening is, the U.S. is very concerned about the influence of China in our hemisphere. Obviously, Belize has relations with Taiwan. So there's not a need for us to meet to discuss those issues, while with other countries, there's a need to discuss those issues on the part of the U.S. So excellent relationship.
And there is more news after the break. Stay tuned.
Electricity is evolving, and BEL is leading the way with smarter connections across Belize. Meet AMI, Advanced Metering Infrastructure. It's not just a meter, it's a smarter way to manage power. Smart meters record your energy use in real time and securely send the data to BEL. Key customer benefits include real-time insights into energy usage, improved home energy planning, integration of solar, battery, and EV technologies, and innovative customer service solutions. Get ready! AMI is coming soon to municipalities across Belize. including the keys, to give you more control and reliability. BEL, bringing you a brighter tomorrow.
The Belize Association of Defense Attorneys, ADA, has publicly voiced strong opposition to the proposed 13th Amendment to the Belize Constitution, warning that some of its provisions could threaten essential civil liberties, judicial independence, and the rule of law. In an official submission dated June 18th, the ADA acknowledged the government's legitimate concerns about national security and public safety, but criticized key elements of the bill as overly broad, vague, and potentially in conflict with established constitutional rights. Central to the group's opposition is Section 18A, which proposes granting security agencies extensive authority to arrest, search, and confiscate property within designated special areas. These actions could be carried out without a warrant, relying solely on reasonable suspicion. The ADA cautioned that such powers could weaken procedural protections and increase the risk of executive overreach, emphasizing the need for greater judicial oversight. The proposed authority risk misuse, the ADA stated, referencing legal ruling from the Privy Council that underlined the importance of due process in law enforcement actions. Additionally, the attorneys criticized Section 18B, which seeks to retroactively legitimize actions taken during previous emergency declarations, some of which are currently under legal challenge. The ADA argued that this undermines the legal principle of res judicata and contravenes core constitutional principles of good governance. Concerns were also raised regarding the creation of auxiliary security units and a new gun and gang court. The ADA expressed apprehension over the lack of clear safeguards related to training standards, judicial independence, and protection for defendants' rights. The group proposed several recommendations, including imposing restrictions on emergency powers, mandating judicial review of security measures, and explicitly safeguarding human rights. They warned that if unaltered, the bill could lead to unchecked executive authority and weaken democratic institutions. While acknowledging the pressing need to address gang violence and reaffirm related crime, the ADA advocates for a balanced approach rooted in human rights and rule of law principle. The government has yet to formally respond to these concerns. And that's the news. We invite you to join us for another newscast on Monday, June 23rd, here on Ctv3 News and Fanaeka FM 106.7. Remember that to read a text version of the news, you can visit our website. You can also log on to our Facebook page for current stories at facebook.com/CTV3 Belize News or our YouTube channel at CTV3 News BZ. From all of us here at Ctv3 News, have a safe and pleasant weekend. Thank you for watching and listening. Good night.